Picture a pirate. Right now in your head you probably added a gold hoop earring without even thinking about it. It's one of the most recognizable parts of the pirate look, right up there with the eye patch and the parrot. But almost nobody asks the obvious question. Why? Sailors weren't exactly known for their fashion sense. Life on a ship in the 1600s and 1700s was brutal, filthy, and short. So why did hardened men who spent months at sea covered in tar and salt spend their hard-earned money on gold jewelry? The answer isn't vanity. It's insurance, superstition, and something far darker than most people realize. Let's start with the most practical explanation: money you can't lose. Sailors were rarely paid a steady wage. Many worked for a share of whatever a voyage brought in, and pirates in particular operated completely outside any banking system. There were no ports where a pirate could walk in and open a savings account. So sailors did something clever: they wore their savings. A single gold earring, especially one made of pure gold, held real, tradable value. If a sailor washed ashore in a foreign port with nothing but the clothes on his back, that earring could be pawned, melted down, or traded for food and passage home. It was a wallet you could not be pickpocketed of because it was through your own skin. But the earring had a darker second purpose, one that had nothing to do with the living sailor at all. Burial at sea or on some unfamiliar and hostile shore was expensive and undignified. Sailors who died far from home were often buried by strangers or left where they fell. So a tradition developed. Sailors would wear a single gold earring specifically so that whoever found their body would have enough money to give them a proper burial. It was in effect a prepaid funeral worn on the ear for years, sometimes decades, in the hope it would never be needed. Think about that for a moment. Every single day at sea, a pirate wore a physical reminder that today might be the day someone else buries him with the gold on his own body. Then there's the superstition, and this is where pirate culture gets genuinely strained. Sailing in the 1600s and 1700s was an extraordinarily superstitious profession. Death was constant, the ocean was poorly understood, and sailors clung to rituals that gave them any sense of control. One widespread belief held that piercing your ears improved your eyesight, specifically your ability to see in the dark or spot land at a distance. Some sailors believed that gold worn close to the eyes had almost mystical protective properties against drowning. None of this held up to any scrutiny even at the time, but that didn't matter. On a wooden ship in the middle of an ocean nobody could fully chart, a small ritual that might improve your odds was worth the pain of a needle through your earlobe. There's also a version of the story tied to experience itself. Sailors who had crossed the equator or rounded a notoriously dangerous point like Cape Horn would sometimes get an earring to mark the achievement. It functioned almost like a badge of honor, a permanent, visible marker that said this man has survived something most people never will. Other sailors would know just by looking at the ear that they were in the presence of someone who had earned it. So by the time actual piracy entered its golden age, roughly the 1650s to the 1730s, the earring wasn't some invented pirate costume detail. It was already deeply embedded sailor culture, and pirates who were overwhelmingly former or active merchant and naval sailors themselves simply carried the tradition with them. Here's the part almost nobody mentions: most of what we now picture as the pirate look was barely documented at the time. There are very few surviving portraits of real pirates wearing earrings. Much of the visual pirate mythology, the hoop earring, the bandana, the eye patch, was cemented over a century later, in the 1800s and early 1900s, through novels like Treasure Island and later through film. Writers and illustrators grabbed real sailor traditions that had existed for centuries and compressed them into a single, unforgettable image. In other words, the earring is real sailor history. But the pirate wearing it in your head is partly a costume designer's invention, built on top of a genuine and much older maritime tradition. And that's the strange truth buried in a single piece of jewelry. What looks like decoration was actually a wallet, a funeral payment, a lucky charm, and a badge of survival, all worn at once, by men who never knew which one they'd need first. So next time you see that gold hoop in a pirate movie, you're not looking at a costume choice. You're looking at a 500-year-old habit of men preparing, quietly, every single day, for the very real chance that the sea would take them before the voyage ended.